Donald Trump has obviously gone way too far when it comes to encouraging his supporters to attack or even possibly kill protesters at his rallies.
Just editorializing.
It's just editorializing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe he hasn't gone too far. Let's let the viewers decide.
Let's let the viewers decide, and they will be able to, because we're going to show some video. Now, you've probably seen our videos covering this. Thankfully, the media has been covering that. There's been a string of first just unnecessary ejections of silent protesters from Trump rallies, and then moving into racial slurs being tossed at them, and now just simply bodily attacking them, punching them in the face when the cops are escorting them. And so people are worried about that because we don't want that to be what American political demonstrations are like in America. And so at last night's debate, Jake Tapper decided to bring up the topic with Donald Trump, where he now has an opportunity to denounce that and to say his supporters need to dial it back. Let's see what he does.
Do you believe that you've done anything to create a tone where this kind of violence would be encouraged?
I hope not. I truly hope not. I will say this. We have 25, 30,000 people. You've seen it yourself. People come with tremendous passion and love for the country. And when they see protest, in some cases, you know, you're mentioning one case, which I haven't seen. I heard about it, which I don't like. But when they see what's going on in this country, they have anger that's unbelievable. They have anger. They love this country. It's a beautiful thing in many respects, but I certainly do not condone that at all, Jake.
They've had that anger
They've
since
had that
the Civil
anger
War?
since at least desegregation. Yeah.
Certainly since the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah. So the 70-year-old man, we were talking about this in a production meeting. 78. So he's 78. He sees a black protester being ejected. The police have him. He's being let out, and he runs up and punches the guy in the face. So when desegregation happened,
punched somebody in the
face?
Yes.
Punched a black protester.
78 is like the new 65.
Yeah. So how old was he when the Civil Rights Act passed?
The Civil Rights Act passed 51 years ago.
Yeah, so maybe he had a problem with it back then. Maybe he has been angry for a long time, but maybe it doesn't have so much to do with the current economic state of America. More it has to do with that he doesn't see that person as an American in the same way that he is.
52 years ago.
If you saw the video, I'm sure you guys showed it yesterday during the regular show.
Yes.
That the cops arrested the guy who got punched in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
There's two cops right behind that guy. They see that guy come over, punch him in the face, and they don't do a goddamn thing. In fact, what they do, they literally picked up the guy who got punched in his face and threw him down on the ground.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what the white cops
Yeah.
at the Trump rally. Again, it's weird to see law enforcement who works for the state or works for the federal government, right, Secret Service, doing the racist errands for a fascist.
Yeah.
That is the weirdest thing. At some point, I think the government can say, you know what, we're not going to be your bouncers anymore at your hate rallies.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird that they have to be bouncers for Donald Trump? And it's super, super weird that the Secret Service kicked those people out before the event even started. That at a college that they were students at. So that's what, at some point, I don't know, Barack Obama has to do something. Who's in charge of the Secret Service? They shouldn't be doing that. There's a big problem in this country. Like, this is really happening. This guy could really become president. There's people already beating the shit out of Mexicans and Muslims in the name of Trump. Trump won't denounce any of it. And still, Morning Micah and Joe Ball are like, hey, he's all right. He's okay.
Yeah, I don't think that we can gloss over, and we can't. His answer, that again, it's simply that they love America so much. That's why they feel the need to run up on somebody being escorted away by the police to punch him in the face when he's defenseless. Like, he keeps saying, not only will I not say that they're wrong, but they're doing what they're doing because they're better patriots than the rest of you. They see what's going on.
Again, it's a way of, obviously making it seem as though that issue was not something violent or brutal. It was something that was done out of love. Basically, he's just making this an innocent situation when in reality, he's making us go back decades. From the progress that we've made when it comes to race relations. We're supposed to have a leader in this country that fights back against violence, fights back against discrimination, not endorses it or advocates for it. And that's exactly what Donald Trump does. And he has emboldened people who have been lurking in the shadows, who have been afraid to really represent who they are. And they're coming out and they're acting hatefully. They're not only saying terrible things, they're behaving in terrible ways, hurting people because of the color of their skin, because of any type of political opposition. Trump is a dangerous person, right? And the only, I guess, silver lining that's come out of this is he has made our terrible race relations very transparent. For all the people who have, watched the stories that we've done about racism and discrimination in the country and have accused us of race baiting, well, do you really think that we've conquered race relations in the U.S.? Because this is a perfect example of how we haven't.
Yeah. And does anybody think that, like, if you're a Trump supporter and you watched his answer there, well, you love Trump, you want Trump to think that you're full of passion, that you love America, well, then you better start attacking people.
Well,
now, really fast, just because in my intro I implied that he was encouraging it, I want to make sure that people understand that I'm not exaggerating there. Previously, and Jake Tapper brought this up in his follow-up to the answer, where
I was going to say, because I didn't see the debate last night. What was critical there is, you got to give Trump you have to give Trump somewhat of a pass on the answer. He's not going to take ownership of it.
No, he has to say nobody can attack anyone at any rally, especially mine.
He could say that, but he's going to minimize it. That's his job. It's his expectation as a presidential candidate, a hateful presidential candidate. So I was hoping that there was a significant follow-up of Tapper to be like, okay, well, you can't, because that would have been a great point. You can't.
I have
you're
the
right.
follow-up.
And I remember during the debates when Hitler downplayed Auschwitz. It was
Exactly,
really good. The way he did it was he had to do it. He had to do it. You got to give him a pass.
So Jake Tapper did follow up with a couple of the statements that Trump had said in the past. He said there may be somebody, he didn't read the entire thing, but there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of him, would you? Then he went on to say, I'll pay for your legal troubles, I'll pay for them. On February 22nd, he said of a protester, I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell ya. And so up until there, he's simply saying, I would like to beat the protesters at my rallies. So yesterday, we have the attack, and thankfully the cops eventually arrest the guy who punched the protester. Beforehand, that guy had been interviewed, and in his interview, he said, we had to punch the guy because he might be ISIS, and next time we might have to kill him. There is no chance in the world. I will admit that maybe Trump hadn't heard that by the time they went to the debate, but he knows about it now. And so this morning he goes out and he does a rally, and this is what he tells his supporters.
Let me just tell you, we've had some violent people as protesters. You know, they're not just people saying, oh, these are people that punch. These are people that are violent people. But we've had a couple that were really violent. And the particular one, when I said, like to bang them, that was a very vicious, he was a guy who was swinging, very loud, and then started swinging at the audience. And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. He was swinging, he was hitting people, and the audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of.
That's what we need a little bit more of.
So
we've never seen any evidence of people going and starting swinging. They do silent protests. And his supporters are saying we might have to kill people now, and he goes out and says we need more of that.
So at what point do we all as a society point our fingers at not? I'm talking Donald Trump. We know who Donald Trump is, but we point our finger at the people who let him phone in to meet the press.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. You know, Lawrence O'Donnell tweeted out, and Lawrence O'Donnell I like him, and he actually is the one guy who goes right after Trump at MSNBC. But he was tweeting out about how should we handle this pathological liar? The media doesn't know how to handle this pathological liar yet. And I'm like, well, have you tried airing all his speeches uninterrupted without commercial Has that worked? So what I'm saying is, at some point, you have to risk losing your job to save the country from fascism, right? That's
the job of the press.
Would you have risked losing your cushy television job to call out people who were supporting Hitler in the 1930s? Because I guess Godwin's law does not apply anymore because this guy's really a fascist and they're really beating the shit out of minorities, okay? And they're doing it with the help of the press. Les Moonves was caught on audio cheering on Donald Trump. Go, baby, he's good for business. And giggling over about fascism being good for business,
well,
right? So at some point, we have to, as a society, say Joe Scarborough, it shouldn't be allowed in polite society. Chuck Todd needs to not be allowed in polite society anymore. I'm telling you, this is, how do you stop this? When he becomes president, are you going to be, they're not going to ever hold his feet to the fire.
No.
So at some point, the media, and CNN, by the way, I was watching CNN yesterday, they bring on this guy, this Andy, the guy who said that progressives were the KKK.
Yeah. CNN's election analyst.
He's CNN's election analyst. They brought on two people like that, and the other woman was saying, well, what about if you're going to call out protesters at Trump's rallies, people beating up protesters, are you going to be why didn't Barack Obama call out the Black Panthers? This is the kind of level of discussion that's being treated as real discussion on CNN.
They put ties on commenters on the internet.
Yes,
And then
it's
they
like
bring them on.
It's a YouTube comment section that the CNN, exactly what you said, they put a suit jacket on and go, here, sit down, you're the news. And then they have and they make it look like it's just the other side of the argument. Who's right, who's wrong? I guess we'll never know.